When you don't have time for all those facts, when you don't have an hour free and need to be informed, take a listen to today's Morning Moment, coming up right now.
It's 11:45 Eastern. It's time for A Radio's Morning Moment.
You're listening to A Radio.
Thank you for joining us. You're listening to A Radio, and this is the Morning Moment. Follow us on Spreaker.com and click on the like button. You can find us on most social media platforms such as iTunes, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Go to our website, aradio.wordpress.com, for details, where you'll find more content and details on our podcasts and more. This was, I thought, an excellent comment that was made by Nigel Farage. I'm going to play for you in a moment. If you were to take out any local references to the UK personalities, you might be forgiven to be thinking that let's fill in my space for the word country that he's talking about. All these politicians, on one hand, ask you to carry on as though it's normal, except it isn't, is it? Here's that piece.
It's Sunday, the 20th of September, and I've just had the deep misfortune of seeing Matt Hancock on the television. It's enough to make you want to scream. After 6 months of bungling, 6 months of promises, 6 months of being told we're going to have a world-class testing regime, what do we see but abject failure? Yet at no point at all in this does Hancock ever admit any fault whatsoever. No, the truth is, the reason so many parts of England are now back in lockdown, and perhaps, who's to say, the rest of the country within 48 hours, it's all your fault. That's right, it's your fault. Not only have you behaved irresponsibly, but despite being encouraged to go and get tests, it's now your fault because too many of you have gone to get tests, and the whole thing collapsed last week. And now we learn from the Sunday papers that if you get a positive test and you leave your house, you'll be fined £1,000. Do it again, and you'll be fined £10,000. Now look, I don't want irresponsible behaviour, but £10,000, it seems pretty draconian. But here's the worst bit. Supposing somebody who's tested positive says they've spent some time with you, and you then get a phone call from our track and trace system. Now, of course, I know that's unlikely because hardly anybody ever gets rung by them because it doesn't work. But whether the information that's been given is accurate or not, you too, even though you have not got the virus or may not have the virus, you too, if you leave your house more than once, are subject to a £10,000 fine. It's the same if you organise a big demonstration. Again, you could be fined £10,000. Oh, but if you want to go and desecrate the cenotaph, or vandalise Churchill's statue, or topple statues and chuck them in the dock in Bristol, or even wear paramilitary uniforms and march through the streets of Brixton, well, that's fine, because you can pretty much guarantee that nothing will happen to you. This is all bad law, bad policing, and utterly and entirely disproportionate. And it's the way these measures are brought in. You know, it's Prefect Hancock and a small group in Number 10 that have decided this figure of £10,000. They have done it without any parliamentary debate or scrutiny whatsoever. We are supposed to be living in a democracy. Actually, it's becoming increasingly like an elective dictatorship. The level of government control is so bad. Well, of course, the Labour Party support it. Angela Rayner this morning, yes, Labour's fully behind these measures. I mean, you'd think, the way the government's behaving, you'd think Jeremy Corbyn had actually won the last election.
Well, there it was. It's not normal to have you wear a mask to go out in public, and neither should it be. Neither should it be. In the UK, they'd started opening up. Even they were opening up air flights to parts of Europe. Yet you had to wear a mask. In what world is wearing a mask normal? Answer, nowhere. Nowhere you or I know. Yet in the UK, and certainly in Canada, they refuse to give detailed accounting of where these cases are, just a general area. It is my contention that certainly in my immediate area, that's around 500 miles around Toronto, that they know exactly who these culprits are and where they are, but for reasons of political correctness, yes, political correctness, they refuse not only to divulge the information, they refuse to act on it, on the information they know to be reliable, for risk of offending some group or another. They are playing political games, not only with our lives, but with the economic well-being of our country. Or should that be just fill in your country's name where the word country is? It does seem to be more and more the case that your country, whichever that is suffering because of, well, how can I put it, deliberate incompetence? And that's my comment.
Brian Mullen, Global News. Agriculture groups and others are urging your government to drop the plan to increase the carbon tax as of April 1st. Is that something you're considering?
We know that it is important that we put more money in the pockets of Canadians at this point when they're stressed. Our plan on pricing pollution puts more money up front into people's pockets than they would pay with the new price on pollution. We're going to continue to focus on putting more money in people's pockets to support them right across the country. We know that this is an important measure for the future, and we're going to continue to ensure that we are thinking about the future while at the same time we ensure that people can afford to make it through this crisis in the best possible way.
So yes or no on carbon tax? Will it go up next week?
We continue to make sure that people have more money in their pockets because that is how we designed the price on pollution.
Merci, c'est ce qu'il m'a fait à la conférence de presse d'aujourd'hui.
Merci tout le monde.
I put that Trudeau bit at the end just to remind you who's controlling all this. Just to remind you who's controlling all this.